Hey folks, welcome back to More Than a Refresh, the T3D sessions. We have Cliff, the Phenom, with us today. Cliff, why don't you give us a little introduction?
Sure. Name's Cliff Jurkiewicz. I am the Vice President of Strategy and Executive Evangelist and Futurist for a little software company in the talent sector called Phenom, hence the
Okay.
sweater.
Well, what are we talking about today?
Well, I think we kind of like hit on what's happening just in the talent space and hiring and artificial intelligence. Though, what is the focus right now in terms of work and AI and how people are navigating that ecosystem or not navigating it.
It's funny. This is rather timely because I just was asking on my LinkedIn network. I asked my folks, hey, how are you finding the signal to noise ratio? And whereas I'm not looking for any kind of permanent work because I have my own company, I have put myself out there because I'm not traveling for the first time in a few years to do some speaking and things like that. And boy, I mean, I don't know what your experience is, but do not turn on open to hire on LinkedIn.
Right.
Oh my goodness. So what's your take? Where are we at in all of this? I mean, we just got a jobs report today that was not bad, but we've also
No.
had a bunch of layoffs in January and that type of thing.
Yeah, let's talk about the layoffs because I think that this is the sort of inflection point that everyone hears about. And that is artificial intelligence is the driver behind lots of layoffs or threatening jobs, and which it just isn't true. Here's what I would tell you for your audience or anyone that's listening to this. What is happening in the job space right now is really the net effect of interest rates. Money was very, very cheap 5 years
Mhm.
ago. Companies borrowed a ton. They expanded their payroll in order to grow their markets and grow their product and service. Now money's very expensive. And the very first thing to go is going to be headcount. That's just the way it is. So any
You know,
any
it's
kind of layoffs you're seeing, I think, are a result of that and not artificial intelligence. Although artificial intelligence is being used as the lever.
so I would agree partially. I would say half. One of the things that a lot of folks I've been talking to about, because in tech, a lot of people are having some stress, especially is that while you are correct, and I think the core thing was money was cheap, right? Debt was cheap, but it was also there was a war going on between the FANG companies, right? Between Amazon and Google
Sure.
and Microsoft and Facebook slash Meta. Everybody wanted the best talent, and they would hire literally so you couldn't hire the
Of
person.
course.
So there was a literal overreach. But I also think that we forget if you look at that layoff report in January, almost 50% came from only two companies.
Yeah.
So, and one of them was UPS,
Yeah.
right? So
Seasonal.
it's not. Look, I'm not taking away from anybody's unemployment situation,
No.
right? That is stressful. To be without a paycheck, I don't care what your emergency fund is, it's stressful. But it's not as dire, I guess I would say, in terms of actually getting employed as a lot of people think.
Yeah. I agree. I think there is an enormous opportunity, especially if you are at home. And my advice, to everyone is really start to adapt your work, your output using some of these tools out there. And you're going to need to invest in them. But my goodness, it's $20 a month. And that could be a lot of money for some people, but
Sure.
it is an investment into your career. And you can use some of the free versions just to kind of get a hang of how this works. So here's my advice: make two lists. List the things that you do every day in your current role or your former current role if you're unfortunately out of work. List everything that you did every day. And then the second list, things that you did that you didn't do every day, but you were spending more time doing, right? Like something a little more strategic or developing a communication plan or doing something more creative, things that weren't transactional. Because that first list, that's the list that you want to learn to automate with some of these tools.
Mhm.
And the second list is you want to amplify your value, do some learning, right? listen to some podcasts, like maybe try to get some gig work, even if it's cheaply paid, like, doing something that's going to amplify the things that AI cannot do every day. It might contribute a little bit to it. It might help you curate an idea, curate, some creative as it may be. But you're driving that because we're hearing the term human in the loop in the marketplace.
Mhm.
It's literally the worst term to describe the relationship between human beings and artificial intelligence. It's an engineering term that gets used. And in the context of engineering, it makes perfect sense. We say human in the loop when we're looking at a process and saying humans have to be involved here, here, and here. Otherwise, the system is doing these other things. That's just human in the loop. It's natural. Engineering works great. That is not the term we use to describe how our relationship to uh, AI in the space of the value of human work. What we're talking about is human in the lead, and that is human beings driving outcomes through artificial intelligence. Human in the loop means humans checking AI outcomes. It's not the same thing. So it is a mindset shift. And when I have this conversation with people, leaders, culturally, the problem with artificial intelligence and building AI fluency in organization is that you've developed the wrong purpose. The purpose isn't human in the loop, it's human in the lead. It's amplifying the value of human work through technology, not checking the technology's outcomes.
So I love that you address that. I get into constant arguments, and obviously, a lot of the episodes I've done recently has been something about AI.
Sure.
And the number one thing that I would say to the network and to the industry is AI is bullshit. It's not new. It's just the same stuff delivered a little faster because we have the computing power, right? That's number one. So stop buying into the propaganda. That's why society is where it's at. People are buying into propaganda. That's number one. Number two is that AI is machine learning, statistics, all that stuff, right? Math-based decision making is very useful if you use it correctly. And I'm going to go back to college and high school, and this is how you use it correctly. If it's Friday night, if it's Wednesday night, and you have a test on Thursday that you must pass with a 70 or above to graduate, you read the Cliff Notes. You'll get your 70%. That's what AI is.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to deliver quality product derived from human intelligence, human creativity, human talent, human gifts that deliver quality clients, quality deliverables, and quality profit, use it for what it is, which is the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, and here's how I would put that. I would say there are two dimensions to everything that we do, but AI in particular. There's the efficiency dimension, which I would say efficiency is finite, and the second dimension is growth or scale, which are infinite. You need both, right? You want AI to help you become more efficient with the things, like I said, in that first list, the things you're doing every day that are repetitive, redundant. The second list are the things that are going to create opportunities. So efficiency is finite, but it reveals opportunities for growth. Growth is infinite, and it reveals opportunities for new outcomes. And that's the way I explain how artificial intelligence fits in to how we should be thinking about it and using it. It's a tool to create efficiency, but that's going to reveal some opportunities in organizations for growth and scale, which reveals new outcomes. And every company I've talked to about this, as we're helping them build fluency around artificial intelligence, we're creating new roles that they never knew they could create because we're going through that exercise.
So yes. And I just personally encountered this. I'm a very, pragmatic kind of guy. And I can't, one of the things that we do is we help organize a conference called Postgres Conference. And it's for Postgres, the database, and it's the longest running of the conferences in the United States. And recently I had an opportunity, I'm not going to say who with, but I had an opportunity that was profound in terms of its ability to grow the conference. And I don't mean grow the conference necessarily in attendance, but it would, but that wasn't the intent. The intent was to grow the depth, right? And the comprehensiveness of the value of the conference. But they wanted a proposal. Number one way to get me to be like, I'm moving on is because I'm not a sales guy, right? I'm not a sales guy. I will passionately express the value and work with you to deliver that value. You want a proposal?
Yeah,
Meh.
I'm with you.
Well, what I did is I took the 8 bullet points, which were the action items of the call, and I threw them into Gemini, and I said, create a value proposition proposal using these 8 bullet points. And it spit something out, and I read it, and you could tell it was AI, but it would have taken me easily half a day to a day to write this proposal. Instead, it took me an hour to edit it so that it was human delivered, and B, to adjust the deliverables so I didn't agree that I was going to like quadruple their sales,
Yeah.
right?
It
And
made you
I
more
sent it,
efficient. Yeah.
yeah, and I sent it to them and I said, this is from Gemini, but I went through it and I edited it and I think we can do this. And they came back in 30 minutes and said, this is fantastic. Do you really think you can do this? I'm like, yeah, because I didn't have to write it. You know?
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, as far as like artificial intelligence, I use it as a curation tool. It helps me think through my ideas, helps me do the research way faster. Like, I mean, you and I are old enough to know walking into a library and we had the, the card
Oh,
catalog and all like
yeah, Dewey Decimal
weeks,
System and all
yeah,
that.
exactly, weeks to figure out. And so I think, you have to leverage these tools in a way that that isn't I think to your point, it's not transactional. It is ideation and curation, and you give it that human lens because that's what's going to bring value to anything that you deliver with this. And like you think about resumes, like the big problem right now in the marketplace is people are putting their resumes into these tools and saying, make me a perfect match for these 10 jobs, and they'll put the jobs in
Mhm.
there. The problem with that is it AI cannot represent your demonstrated experience. It
Or
can
who
think
you
some things.
are as a person.
Correct. So I've been advocating for this new thing called the work blueprint, which is really looking at your skills and your proficiency level and how you can drive outcomes with those skills. The second thing is demonstrated experience, which is okay, if I can drive that outcome in my past roles and experiences, how did I do that? Right. So it's like, and that AI could fake that, but you could never back it up because it's just making something up. So
You know,
demonstrating experience is important. And then the third thing, which you just said, is values and purpose. What's going to connect me to the culture? What do I value? And what do I think my purpose is? Like, that's a different way of looking at work and actually will get you noticed faster in the tools, like the AI tools, like what Phenom uses to help recruiters understand your pattern. We call it a talent graph. So we create a pattern for people. Um, those are the elements: demonstrated experience, skills, and outcomes and values will raise you much higher in the use of, as these corporations use tools to evaluate resumes and applications. You will get noticed way faster by doing that versus doing sort of the industrial age way of doing a resume, right?
right.
Which are terrible, by the way. So we have to think about how do we tell our story, because that's what these tools want. They want your story, not your list of accomplishments.
All right, folks, this has been another T3D Sessions with Cliff. Cliff, is there any closing thoughts that you have? Your last 3 points were fantastic.
Thanks. I would just say, nothing to fear right now. Learn and practice, adapt to this environment, and you will make yourself invaluable in any role that you choose.
All right, thank you so much.